It is the holy grail for Manchester City, and it always really has been since all that money was injected into the club. But once again, they fail, this time at the final hurdle. Of course, the first Champions League final for Manchester City under Pep Guardiola, but that 1-0 victory for Chelsea will see them once again go without the big trophy come the end of the season. Jurgen, how much responsibility should Pep Guardiola take for this defeat?
Well, I mean, responsibility, obviously, he will question a couple of decisions he made, but it was a very, very tight game. And overall, I think Manchester City is on a very good path. I mean, what they created over the last years, obviously with the resources that they have, they're in the top 5 in the world. You know, I mean, they made some very, very strong statements in the Premier League. And in Europe, it's a one step at a time process. You know, even if you look back many, many years ago, Man United under Alex Ferguson, it took several years to get to the top. And the same thing here. I think Pep Guardiola is doing an outstanding job at Man City. And they will go for the title again next season. I think they had a tremendous run in the Premier League, you know, and made some very strong statements. So overall, their club is on the right path. But obviously, today is a huge disappointment for all Man City fans because they were dreaming about that moment for such a long time.
Yeah, I suppose the argument is, Jurgen, Thomas Tuchel has done in months what Pep Guardiola has failed to do over years.
And that's wrong. I mean, in a certain way, you're right, because it took him only a couple of months, you know, to execute his job. But the foundation was laid, you know, over so many years now. The foundation of Chelsea is laid more than 10 years now, when Abramovich came on board and started to spend on players, on coaches, on infrastructure, on youth development. So what Chelsea did over the last 10, 12 years is also remarkable. It's really fantastic to see. There's a lot of money being put into developing the squad, developing a philosophy, and obviously working with different type of managers. But I think what Thomas Tuchel really can enjoy at the moment is a foundation. Last piece was created by Frank Lampard in a certain way, with a very driven generation of players that are used to take over responsibility. I'm looking at the captain, Azpilicueta, who is just a role model. Fantastic kind of team player. You know, Thiago Silva, obviously. Then you have Kanté. Then a whole bunch of young players that, you know, they will actually still getting better and better. If it's Christian Pulisic, if it's a Kai Havertz or Mason Mount, they're just kind of starting to really fly higher and higher. And so I think, yeah, what Chelsea created over the years paid out today. But it's a far longer period of time that they built that foundation than actually Manchester City did over the last few years.
You don't... the buck always stops with the manager. Jurgen knows as a manager. The buck always stops with a manager on hard defeats, generally, on his decision-making. And I do think he... And I've said this to you, I thought he'd get away from the overthinking it. Mm-hmm. But clearly, I think he's tried to overthink this one with his team selection. However, to go back to the initial point about Tuchel coming in and winning, it's fantastic. You don't judge a man's work on one game. Guardiola's body of work over years has been immense. I mean, Roberto Di Matteo came in at Chelsea in the previous Champions League win and was interim manager and won the Champions League. I'm not comparing Di Matteo and Thomas Tuchel. Clearly, one guy has a much better track record, but I'm saying these things can happen. I mean, Roberto Di Matteo, a former teammate of mine and Frank, had a spell in management, but he's no Pep Guardiola, right? This man, what this man's done in terms of the way all these teams have played has been innovative. However, this sort of, for want of a better phrase, noose around his neck, away from Barcelona, at Bayern Munich and now Man City, in the failure to deliver this competition, and I touched on it this week, was that for Tuchel, having delivered the top 4, it was somewhat of a free hit. A final's never a complete free hit. But if City had rolled this by 2 or 3 goals, we'd all have walked away and went, yeah, we kind of thought that was going to happen. Sure. But for Guardiola, it's all about, the question will arise again, well, Bayern Munich failed at it, City continue to fail at it, You get all this money, and that won't go away. That's not going to go away. Now, that doesn't mean he's a bad manager. He's one of the greatest managers of his generation. You judge his body of work. But what we thought, or what it seemed to be in terms of his team selection and his philosophy this season, prepared to be more pragmatic, not too fussed about wiping teams away 4 and 5-0 every game, but making sure we're solid defensively and then having the base. At the hotel last night, it seemed he just chucked that out the window and went, no, we're going a different way. We're going a completely different way this season. And to
play a starter, Raheem Sterling, who has not been good, who has not been anywhere near his best.
No, but then when you take a defensive midfielder out, you drop Gundogan back, and there's another space.
Yeah.
So somebody had to come in and fill that void, because he already played Bernardo Silva, he already played Mahrez on the right, he was going to start. Phil Foden was always going to start, so then you've got one more. And that's what I was saying, you know, and the first part of this show, is that City, for me, were absolutely no less offensive with a Rodri or a Fernandinho in the team.
Sure.
They're good passers.
Yeah.
They do everything, particularly Fernandinho. They do everything well. They get forward, they pass the ball forward, they cover. They're no less offensive. The only thing this did for Man City was make them weaker at the back, was make John Stones and Ruben Dias more vulnerable. That's the only thing it did. And actually, I thought it took away from some of their attacking momentum today. I mean, Foden and De Bruyne were sort of through the middle and getting in each other's way. Raheem Sterling got no change, hardly any change out of Reece James. He's just as quick, he's bigger, he's stronger. And that was shown. Ben Chilwell, I thought, did a great job on Mahrez. I mean, I actually saw earlier, I think it was earlier this season, or when Chilwell was at Leicester, at the Etihad, Mahrez absolutely roasted him one of the games. I mean, turned him inside out. He got tight tonight. He got tight to Mahrez and said, listen, you're going to have to, you're going to have to drop a shoulder and beat me with pace. And when he looked like getting past Chilwell, which wasn't often, and Frank and Jurgen mentioned it, and N'Golo Kante was there to come and help.
Yeah.
City didn't have that. City did not have that. Didn't have that player to come and help. Gundogan can't get across. For goodness sake, he was carrying an injury coming into this game, apparently, Gundogan. He was struggling with a muscle problem. And then you ask him to go out and cover all that ground. It's mind-boggling from a City perspective.
And what was interesting when we talk about the attacking prowess of City, in the end, Frank, they were left just crossing the ball into the box to Jesus and Kun Aguero, and that's a centre-back's dream for you.
Yes, but you're at the end of the game, you don't have any ideas, you don't know what to do, you're running after the time and you are stressed and you think that maybe you stop thinking and overthinking, as Craig mentioned about Manchester City and especially Guardiola, and you go straight forward and you say, okay, we're going to cross the ball, now we have 2 strikers, maybe we'll have a chance, and they did have the chance. The last kick of the game was just over the bar, so it would have been possible to score that way. But yeah, you lose a little bit of your temper as well, so everything goes wrong in your brain and you just want to have another chance and maybe have the chance to score. But just going back to Guardiola, I mean, it's easy to criticize a coach, and I'm pleased that Jurgen and Craig just want to analyze the game but don't criticize too much Guardiola, because Guardiola changed the world of football. I mean, how much he improved the way of thinking differently, involving goalkeepers to the game. When you are under pressure, to have somebody able to kick long balls, to play in kind of a counter-attack. So everything he did in his career is absolutely fantastic. And we had a list of the team who spent so much money, but you could add Real Madrid, Juventus, and some others, and see that out of 10 clubs who desperately need to win every year, because if they don't win, something catastrophic will happen, only one team can win. Only one team. And the others are going to be criticized. All coaches are going to be criticized. Tuchel took charge. Di Matteo took charge and won the Champions League. Don't forget last year, Hansi Flick took charge on Kovacs and won the Champions League. So everything can happen in football. That's the beauty of that game. To analyze, it's hard because you can have the contrary the day after. But to criticize somebody like Guardiola, I think you have to know nothing about football if you do so.
Get them on the show, they fit in well. Champions League then record for Chelsea, of course, and we knocked out in the round of 16 on the last 4 occasions where they smashed through that barrier, didn't they, this season, going on to win their 2nd Champions League title.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube, and for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app, and for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN+.